It all started a few months ago, honestly. My wife, Jessica, and I had been together for nearly 7 years. We met in college, got married right after, and for the most part, I thought we had a pretty solid relationship. She was the kind of girl who seemed to have it all together. Beautiful, smart, charming, and yeah, a little bitchy sometimes, but I figured that was just her personality. Still, we had our little disagreements, like every couple, but nothing that seemed like a big deal. Or at least I thought so. Lately, though, I'd started noticing little things. She was more distant, often busy on her phone, and would get irritated if I even looked at her when she was texting or scrolling through social media. She started working late more often, claiming it was just extra projects at work. I tried to brush it off, telling myself maybe she just needed to focus. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I didn't want to admit it, but I had this sinking suspicion that she was hiding something from me. Still, I kept telling myself I was overthinking. Then came the night of our anniversary. We'd been planning this night for weeks, a nice dinner at that fancy place she always wanted to try. I thought finally I'd get to celebrate us, reconnect a little, but something felt strange from the start. She was dressed up, looking gorgeous, but there was a certain edge to her smile, like she was hiding something. I didn't want to ruin the night with my paranoia, so I kept it together. We went to dinner, and honestly, it was nice at first. We laughed, shared stories, and talked about everything and nothing. But then I started noticing her phone kept buzzing and she kept sneaking glances at it. That's when I saw it. Her phone vibrated again and I caught a glimpse of the screen. It was a message from a guy, one of her coworkers, I think something casual, but the tone was intimate. She quickly snatched the phone away, her fingers trembling a little. My stomach clenched. I felt a cold wave of suspicion wash over me. I wanted to confront her right then, but I held back, not wanting to ruin the evening. Still, my mind was racing, trying to piece it all together. Why would she be hiding something on our anniversary? That's when I knew something was definitely going on and I had to find out what. Over the next few days, I couldn't get that message out of my head. Every time I saw her, I felt this gnawing suspicion. I started paying more attention to her behavior, little things like how she avoided eye contact, lied about where she was going, or seemed overly defensive whenever I asked about her day. And then I started noticing other signs. Her phone constantly going off at odd times, her deleting texts, and her sneaking around with her phone tucked away in her purse. It was like she was hiding something, and I was pretty sure I knew what it was. One afternoon, I was home early. She was supposed to be at work, but I had a gut feeling I should check her phone. I know, it's invasive and probably crossed a line, but I was desperate to know the truth. So I grabbed her purse, found her phone, and scrolled through it. My heart was pounding, and I was trying to calm myself down, but what I saw made me feel like I'd been punched in the gut. There were dozens of messages, flirty texts, suggestive photos, references to our secret, and even plans to meet up. They were talking about sex, about sneaking around, about how much they needed each other. It wasn't just innocent texting. I felt like I was frozen in place. My mind raced. How long had this been going on? Who else knew? I felt a mix of rage and sadness. How could she betray me like this? After everything we'd been through, after I trusted her with my life. I wanted to scream, to break something, but I just closed her phone slowly, my hands trembling. I sat there in silence, feeling like my world was shattering. I knew I had to confront her, but I wasn't sure what I'd say or how I'd even begin to process this. I just knew I couldn't keep pretending that everything was okay anymore. The truth was sitting there, plain as day, and I couldn't ignore it. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing, replaying everything I had seen, her messages, the way she lied about staying late, the subtle way she avoided my gaze lately. I felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak. I knew I had to confront her, but I also needed to plan how. I didn't want to just blow up and accuse her without evidence or a plan. It was obvious she'd been cheating on me, but I needed to hear it from her, and I needed to know how deep this went. The next morning, I decided I'd confront her. I told myself to stay calm, but I was already boiling inside. When she came home from work, I was waiting in the living room. She looked surprised, maybe even nervous. I didn't waste time. I pulled out her phone and pressed her for answers. Jessica, I saw the messages, I said coldly. Who is this guy? How long has this been going on? Her face went pale, then she scoffed, trying to brush it off with a laugh. Oh, come on, Tyler, you're overreacting. It's just some stupid flirting, nothing serious. It's not a big deal. She rolled her eyes. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. But I wasn't convinced. Her excuses sounded weak and her tone was defensive. I pressed her again, demanding the truth. That's when she snapped. She started crying, yelling that I was being paranoid, that I didn't trust her, that I was crazy for accusing her of cheating. You're so insecure, she spat. It's just sex, Tyler. Everyone does it. You don't own me. Hearing her say that, my blood boiled even more. I felt a deep sense of rage. How dare she dismiss what was happening like it was nothing? How dare she try to justify it? I looked at her, furious, and realized that everything I believed about us was crumbling before my eyes. She sat there, bitching and lying, trying to make me feel guilty for catching her. But I knew I couldn't stay with someone so selfish, so dishonest. This wasn't just about the sex or the cheating. It was about trust, respect, and her complete disregard for what we had. I told her I needed some time to think, that I couldn't even look at her right now, and I left the room, feeling like I just lost a part of myself. Over the next few days, I didn't speak much, and she tried to act normal, like everything was fine. But I could tell she was annoyed, maybe even pissed off that I wasn't giving her the attention she clearly wanted. Honestly, I didn't care. I spent most of my time trying to process what had happened, how my wife, someone I trusted and loved, had been lying and sneaking around behind my back. The betrayal cut so deep I felt numb. It was like I'd been hit by a truck, and I didn't know how to put the pieces back together. One night, I decided I needed to know more. I needed to see if she was still lying or if she had any intention of coming clean, so I set a trap. I left my phone on the table and I told her I was going to bed early. Instead, I stayed awake, listening for any sound. Sure enough, around midnight, I heard footsteps in the hallway. I pretended to be asleep, but then I saw her sneak out of our bedroom, phone in hand, heading toward the living room. That was the moment I decided to follow her. I quietly got up and trailed her into the living room where she met someone, her coworker, Mark. They were whispering, giggling, and she was leaning into him, her hand on his chest like they were trying to hide something. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but seeing her with him like that made my stomach turn. She was sneaking around, lying to my face, and now she was openly with him in our house. I watched as they exchanged a quick kiss before she kissed him on the cheek and told him to be careful. The whole scene was sickening. I felt like I was witnessing a betrayal on a level I never expected to see. That was the moment I knew, no matter what she said, she'd been lying ever since I found that first message. I felt betrayed, angry, and almost hopeless. How could she do this? How could she throw away everything we had for some guy she barely knew? I stayed silent, watching her, trying to process the chaos raging inside me. I knew I couldn't keep pretending this wasn't happening. And I knew this was the start of something I definitely hadn't planned on. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and a mind racing faster than I could keep up. Seeing her with Mark last night, sneaking around in our house, everything hit me like a freight train. I couldn't believe I was married to a woman who could do something so cold, so calculated. I felt this mix of deep sadness and pure, unfiltered rage. How long had she been doing this? Was it just Mark, or were there others? The questions kept swirling, but I knew I couldn't just sit there and do nothing. I had to come up with a plan, something to make her regret betraying me like this. That day I decided I'd confront her again, this time with proof and a plan. I couldn't let her keep lying or dismissing what I saw. I waited until she came home from work, looking for that typical bitchy smirk she always had when she thought she could get away with something. Instead, I just looked at her coldly and said, "We need to talk, and I want the truth, everything. No more lies." Her eyes darted around, trying to avoid my gaze. I could see her trying to come up with an excuse, but I wasn't going to let her. I pulled out my phone, showing her the pictures I took of her last night with Mark. Her face instantly turned pale, her mouth opening to lie, but I cut her off. "Don't bother, I saw everything. The sneaking around, the kisses, you lied to me, Jessica. How long has this been going on?" Her eyes filled with defiance, and she tried to spin some bullshit about how it was just sex, or how she needed excitement and that I was overreacting. But I wasn't buying it. That was just her typical bitchy attitude, trying to dismiss it, trying to make me feel guilty for catching her. I felt my heart pounding in my chest. The betrayal wasn't just about the cheating anymore. It was about her complete lack of respect for me. I told her I was done, that I couldn't stay with someone who lied and cheated behind my back. She looked furious, yelled at me, called me insecure, tried to turn everything around on me. But I knew her game. I was done playing along. I told her to pack her shit and leave, that I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. Watching her storm out of that house, I knew I'd never trust her again. And honestly, I didn't want to. I realized I deserved better than someone who could betray me like that, someone so selfish and dishonest. That moment, I felt a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. I knew I'd be okay in the long run, but right now, it hurt like hell. I learned that sometimes the people closest to you can hurt you the most, and no amount of love or trust can fix a betrayal like this. But I promised myself I'd move on and be better because of it. I didn't want to be someone who stayed in a lie, and I sure as hell didn't want to be with someone who thought cheating was okay. That was my line, and I crossed it. After she finally left, I sat alone in the house, feeling like I'd just been through the worst emotional roller coaster of my life. The silence was deafening. I couldn't help but think about everything. How happy I thought we were, how much I trusted her, and how completely she had thrown it all away for some fleeting moment of excitement with Mark. It was a crushing realization that the person you loved and trusted could so easily betray. You lie to your face and turn out to be someone you didn't even recognize anymore. In the days that followed, I threw myself into rebuilding my life. I sold her belongings, cut ties with her friends who always knew about her affair, and started focusing on myself. I didn't want to spend another second dwelling on her lies or her bitchy attitude. Instead, I learned to accept what happened, that sometimes people are just who they are, selfish, dishonest, and unworthy of your trust. I realized I had to let go of the anger, although I still felt it burn beneath the surface. The pain was real, but I knew I had to choose my future over my past. Looking back, I learned a lot. I learned that no matter how perfect someone seems, they can hide a lot of darkness underneath. I learned that trust isn't something you give lightly, and once it's broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. Most importantly, I learned that revenge isn't about hurting her back. It's about reclaiming your dignity and moving forward. I could have gone down a dark road, retaliating or drowning in anger, but instead, I chose to focus on myself and rebuild. To anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, here's what I can say. Trust your gut, but don't let it consume you. People reveal themselves in the end, and you have to be strong enough to walk away when they betray you. It hurts, but time really does heal. And the best revenge is living well, even after someone has taken a part of you. I'm still healing, still figuring out who I am without her, but I know I'll be okay. Because in the end, I've learned that sometimes the biggest act of revenge is simply moving on and proving that you're better off without someone who doesn't value you.